Hello, and welcome to the lore of Braunhaven. Today's episode, I was going to continue to um, detail the different wards and districts of the capital city of Derzwadalek in the Sylvanas Forest, home of the elves, but I've decided to move on from that. All of that information, or the large bulk of that information, is available in the book, The Mystical Sylvanas Forest, which is on sale now. um, in both PDF and hardback print on demand. So I don't feel that there's a need to really go over that much more. Instead, what I would like to do is I would like to talk about some of the things that are not written, or they're not written yet. And today we're going to kind of look at this map. So this is the year 201 map. And there's some things on here that uh, have not made it into the books yet. There's a number of things on here. So I would like to start a series here talking about the Borderlands. And the first thing that I can tell you about the Borderlands is that that area is going to feature rather prominently in the second campaign. And so the first campaign, of course, started with the Braunhaven campaign setting and the adventure, the thing in the basement, and it will conclude within the next three books. The current book being written is, of course, Stagina, the Land of Ice and Plunder, and that is it is a work in progress. I'm hoping that it will be out by around Christmas. Um, no guarantees on that, but that's my wish. And there are two additional books after that to conclude the first campaign, and then the second campaign. What I can tell you is that it will probably take place 10 years into the future, but the Borderlands region will feature prominently in that second campaign. And so, first question is, what is the Borderlands? So, as you can see, the Glaucian Empire is kind of sitting in a valley, and that valley is marked between the Skells Mountains and the Grey Hills. And east of the Grey Hills, that area is considered the Borderlands, and that area is marked by the Grey Hills on the west side. And really, the last bastion of of real civilization, I suppose you could say, uh, before heading off into the wilds, is the Gloucester Inn. On the north side, the Borderlands, of course, are bordered by the Frosthelm Sea and the Drakon Mountains. And then to the south, you've got the Dragon Sea and the Gloaming Marshlands. So, what is the Borderlands and who lives there? Well, the Borderlands originally, in the distant past, were actually called the Eastern Marches. And they kind of took on the name the Borderlands. It was a slang term used by many of the troops that had ended up being stationed there. They were called the Borderlands because to the east of the Borderlands, that is an area that, for the most part, is considered fairly lawless. And you're talking about on the northern end, you're talking about plains. Uh, Not a whole lot, not really a desert, but it is a great northern plains. There are a couple of farmsteads, and there are some minor castles and keeps in that area. But for the most part, that area is all mostly ruled by gnolls. And gnolls, if you know anything about them, they can be as dangerous or more dangerous even than the orcs. The Glaucian Empire has a lot of problems with the Rock Skull orc tribes. Um, there along the Great River, and so at the time that the Eastern Marches was created, the those were considered to be a major threat to the Glaucian Empire. They did not want them coming in. And so this goes way back to the founding of the Glaucian Empire, and of course, one of the first things that was come up with was that we know that this is a major threat, and we have to protect ourselves against it. This was probably before the orcs really made themselves well known. They haven't boiled up out of the nether regions of the Skellis Mountains yet. And so the gnolls were considered prime numero uno threat. And so the early Glaucian Empire, three knights, really heroes of the rebellion against the vampire Faunstein, were sent to the Borderlands region, and with the mandate to take armies with them and to protect the empire. And that has kind of remained, at least on paper, the mandate to this day. The Borderlands is made up of three kingdoms. The Glaucian Empire today, in the modern age, circa year 201, really doesn't care much. The Borderlands is not someplace that they are widely in contact with. The Borderlands themselves do not send taxes to the Glaucian Empire as they should. The Borderlands are technically territories of the Empire, but they don't. That has all gone by the wayside. The Glaucian Empire has really become rather insular, and they are dealing with their own internal problems. Problems, I might add, of their own making. Emperor Belution Cestus is, he's a puppet ruler. He is a sock puppet placed on the throne, and the hand up his ass that is firmly there, of course, is the Archdevil Vuselix. So the Glaucian Empire is really focusing on its own internal things, the demon plague and everything else, losing 2/3 of their population to the plague, not really knowing what the plague is, why it can't be cured. The people of the Glaucian Empire have really more or less forgotten about the Borderlands. And so it is, of course, only a matter of time. Once Vuselix and Emperor Belution Cestus has this sorted out, and they have the Glaucian Empire firmly in their grasp, their attention will immediately turn to the east, and that will turn to the Borderlands. But until such time, the Borderlands are kind of left on their own. And so these knights and their fortresses from days of old have become the three kingdoms that really denote the Borderlands. The smallest of these kingdoms is in the north, the kingdom of Kaling. And Kaling is centered around the small city, town would be more appropriate, of Cockenford. And what is really notable about Cockenford is that it is in the hill regions, the foothill regions of the Dracon Mountains, and up in the mountains, or at least partway up in the mountains, is a location called Cockenford Abbey. Now, Cockenford Abbey is the home of the Order of St. Gloust, and this is a militant religious order that worships St. Gloust, the founder of the Glaucian Empire, or at least the namesake for the Glaucian Empire. And and he also defeated Faunstein, but shortly later succumbed to his wounds. And so this is a religious order of clerics and paladins and knights that take on, their oath is the same aspect as Gloust, and in so doing, these paladins, there are more paladins at Cockenford Abbey than there are clerics. But these paladins and knights, they take this oath, and they know that there are bad things going on in the Glaucian Empire, and so they are trying to do the same thing that St. Glaus did, and they go out into the world trying to keep, for the most part, as low of a profile as they possibly can to rally the peasantry and to form some kind of resistance. And there are pockets of this resistance all over the Glaucian Empire that have been created by these paladins. Now, they don't. The paladins of Cockenford Abbey don't seem to be um, having as much luck or effect as Saint Glaus did, and there could, I mean, nobody has a real answer as to why that is. There could be a number of reasons for that. Maybe Glaus was just lucky. Maybe Glaus was a better orator. Maybe he was just a better leader. Maybe he just had higher charisma. Nobody really knows, but these paladins aren't having as much luck. The other thing that St. Glaus didn't have to deal with is 2/3 of the population being dead from a plague of fiendish origin. And so, that could have a lot to do with it as well. There just isn't as many people. And the people that are left are downtrodden. They are taxed into the state of burden, and they are all at the same time burying their loved ones and neighbors. And so these paladins just aren't having as much luck. And this some of them have been found out, and the Imperial witch hunters have been, of course, sent after them. And some of them have not made it back. But most notably about Cockenford Abbey being in the Dracon Mountains is that the Dracon Mountains are one of the last bastions of a uh, small group of I suppose you could say, a dying people. There aren't many of them left. Those people are, of course, Dragonborn. Now, the Dragonborn of the Braunhaven campaign setting are they, like I said, they are a dying people. There aren't many of them left. There are small enclaves of these people, the Dragonborn, left in various places throughout the world. There are rumors that there is an entire group of them, that a larger group that have managed to live on in Orentis, far across the Dragon Sea. And there are rumors of them throughout the rest of the region as well. But for the continent of Zanmar, this is the Dracon Mountains is the largest group of them. And when I say the largest group, there's maybe a population of beneath 500 that live there. There's not a large population of them, but they are known to be the caretakers, I suppose you could say, of dragon eggs, and their histories, uh, possibly known by some of the humans left in the region, uh, reading old texts. But the Dragonborn's histories are that they were um, the caretakers of dragon eggs, and as such, they were also known to be dragon riders. Now, nobody has seen a dragonborn dragon rider in millennia. Nobody left alive today, certainly. But there are tales that the dragonborn, much higher in numbers, were an elite force. And one of the classes that dragonborn are most apt to go into is paladin, at least in the current age. They were the So there is notes, and this is another location on the map that has not been detailed yet, but it is noted. So there was this area called Varkuth. Varkuth. Nobody knows much about Varkuth. They know that there is some kind of dungeon there, and the texts that have been found simply name it as Varkuth. But This would have been pre-reckoning. The reckoning, of course, being when the planes collided and the Council of 12 elder known gods came to the known world. A lot of the creation myth that religions have is based around the old gods creating humanity, and nobody really knows what what was going on before the reckoning. They know that the old gods, of course, existed. The old gods, as they do today, walk the known world, the prime plane, um, and they are known to be uncaring. And so, but the written histories of the known world didn't really start until, um, after the reckoning. With the reckoning really noting the first part of the known history. And so the written histories of the current age only go back about 2,000 years, with year zero really being counted as the height of the demon plague. So the world um, is really quite new, as far as the written histories are concerned, and most of the people living here don't really they don't spend much time during their day thinking about what happened before the reckoning. Well, one of the things that happened before the reckoning that has been slowly coming out is that there was some kind of there were people and there was some kind of ancient empire before, and Verkuth is perhaps the best known evidence of that. They don't know how vast Verkuth is. They know that there is a tower that they have discovered that is part of a much greater complex. And it seems that this much greater complex, whether it be a castle or a city or something, sunk into the earth. It sunk down, and it is assumed that there are many portions of it that go down into the underworld. Well, what has been found from Cockenford Abbey is that it is possible that these dragonborn dragon riders were actually a part of the elite guard and perhaps a part of this vast empire of ancient peoples, um, that many believe may center on Verkuth. Nobody knows that for certain, and the dragon eggs that are being um, cared for at Cockenford Abbey by the Dragonborn have not hatched, and they haven't hatched a dragon in millennia. No, nobody has seen a dragonborn rider. Nobody has seen a dragon that has been hatched by the dragonborn. And Cockenford Abbey is, of course, dragonless. That's not to say that dragons don't exist. We already know that they do. There are plenty of dragons living in the wild doing their own thing. But there have been no um, allied dragons with any particular civilization for millennia. The next biggest kingdom is, of course, the kingdom of Beria. Beria, it's a strange kingdom. So their capital is Shereborn, and the city of Shereborn sits right on the edge of the gloaming marshlands. So it's not a very adamantly pleasant place. And the most notable thing about the Kingdom of Beria is that it doesn't currently have, well, it does have a king, but that's not who's ruling it. The Kingdom of Beria is actually ruled by the Queen Regent, and her son, um, of course, became king when he was too young to take the throne. He was probably about 8. And the other problem is that he has some mental and physical challenges. And so the reality is that he is a king, but he's likely forever going to be king in name only because of the amount of care that the Queen Regent has to or is supposedly providing for him. Really, the Queen Regent is the one ruling the kingdom, and he sits around and drools and is taken care of by staff all day. And the Kingdom of Beria is kind of the Queen Regent is rather antagonistic. Um, the They are highly ambitious. They want more, and for the most part, they are constantly at odds with the Kingdom of Cassex to their south. And this, of course, is because, I mean, their kingdom mostly consists of the gloaming marshlands, and south of the eastern tradeway and the northern part of the gloaming marshlands, and so there's not a whole lot there. They don't have really any major cities. They can count the town of Eastings, and the Gloucester Inn technically falls under their domain, and of course the Dallinwood. But for the most part, their kingdom is a very dismal place to live, and so they are looking, more to the south. The kingdom of Cassex has a seaport, and they've got great farmland, and they've got the Shalwood Forest, and it's they've got a lot of stuff that the kingdom of Beria does not have, and this makes the Queen Regent quite envious and covetous. And so they do frequently have border disputes, skirmishes, what have you, all in the name of well, of course, she has it in the name of protecting their kingdom, but everybody knows that the reality is that if she could, she would push her forces further south and just take as much land from the kingdom of Cassex as she could. Last, we have of course, the kingdom of Cassex, which is probably the most numerous population and probably the largest kingdom of the Borderlands. Their kingdom partially goes over to the west side of the Grey Hills, and with the biggest town, aside from their capital city, the biggest city, of course, is the port city of London, which was originally was the first city that was planned by Tacidantilus to actually be the imperial port. But Tacidantilus opted not to use London because it was too far to the east and too far away from the capital city of Glaustein. Whereas putting the port at the mouth of the Great River allowed for river traffic with a very short distance from the city of Glaustein to move downriver and upriver to the newly constructed imperial port. Some think that this was maybe ill thought on his part. It would have been much better to make London the imperial port. Maybe it's a good thing that they didn't. There may have been a bit of jealousy on the thoughts of the emperor at the time, because that would have essentially given the Borderlands, the possibility of a second imperial seat, and could have easily split the empire. So it could have gone two different ways. But the decision was made that the imperial port would be made at the mouth of the Great River, and London was left to its own devices. The Kingdom of Cassex has made London actually a prosperous port. It is a large city at the mouth of the gloaming marshlands on the east side, but they do have very good ports on the west side of of a small peninsula. And so the London is a fairly large city, high population. The other biggest town in the Kingdom of Cassex would be Athelsburg, and Athelsburg is right there at the edge of the Grey Hills. And of course, some of that land to the west of the Grey Hills, down in this region, of course, is considered to be a part of the Kingdom of Cassex, and it is kind of shared between the elves of the Sylvanas Forest and the Kingdom of Cassix, but the elves of the Sylvanas Forest um, don't really care all that much because the reality is that they don't really leave their forest all that often. They have their own trade port in Drizwadalek that uses the Inian River to travel to the Dragon Sea, and because they are elves, they are able to transit through the Sylvanas Forest without the landscape shifting and things of that nature. So that is a brief overview of the Borderlands. We'll be getting into a little bit more depth about the Borderlands on the next episode. Thank you for watching, and I'll catch you next time.